The Tamil Nadu Congress finally gets a new chief in NDTV-HINDU-NEWS. This is after the recent infighting started to show up in the party recently. Lankan President Mahinda Rajapaksa tells NDTV that the Navy has been stopped from taking Indian fishermen who accidentally stray out of their territory. As the 2G case trial starts, a Delhi court turns down a plea by former Minister A. Raja. Even as Kudankulam boasts of the safest reactor in the world, doubts are raised over whether the disaster management facilities are enough. The Apex Court maintains status quo or the ceilings of shops at the busy Ranganathan Street. Merchants are asked to move to the High Court. The Commissioner of Police announces the launch of a specialized squad to look into unsolved crimes. Here is a crime record from your city. 170 criminals arrested in 236 cases, mainly robbery and chain snatching. It's a news for the main accused in the murder of a young woman from Kerala. She was robbed, raped and killed in a train. And a path-breaking move, Dalits of Uttapuram are allowed to enter a forbidden temple after 2 whole decades. Hello and good evening. A lot has been happening across the country. You're watching it all on News Tonight with me, Anu George Kanjanatopal. Let's take a quick look at the headlines. The government may speak to banks for possible bailout on Kingfisher Airlines. The Afghan President Hamid tells NDTV in a strong message that radicalism and terrorism cannot be used as an instrument of state policy. Defence Minister A.K. Antony backs the army on AFSPA, saying the final decision would be taken by the Unified Command in Jammu and Kashmir. And there's bad news for the Indian economy. Negative effects of the RBI's rate hike and the Eurozone crisis starts to show. Jnana Desigan has been appointed as the new Tamil Nadu Congress chief. This comes as an important development since it has been more than 5 months since the Tamil Nadu Congress Committee President K.V. Thangabalu sent in his resignation, owning moral responsibility for the party's drubbing in the recent assembly election. But then, his resignation had not been accepted. We were earlier joined by the newly appointed man himself on the phone line. Here is what his first reactions were to NDTV Hindu.
Our Congress President Sonia Gandhi and our General Secretary Rahul Gandhi has reposed confidence. That doesn't mean that they don't have confidence in others, but they have selected me to do this job. And the only thing which I have to take the vow today is I must fulfill their ambitions, fulfill their expectation to bring back the Congress to the original glory. And I have to thank all the past presidents who have worked for the party's welfare and party's growth in Tamil Nadu. And I will meet everybody and get their cooperation and blessings. And my first priority is to take everybody together and see that party regains its original strength.
We were also joined by the president of the Tamil Nadu Youth Congress, Mr. Karthi Chidambaram. He says that this change was much needed.
The past TNCC president had resigned, in fact, on May 14th after the assembly election results. So this change was long overdue. This has got nothing to do with the local body elections. So I welcome this change. I think the new president has, while I congratulate him for being best out this almost an envious task of rebuilding the party. I think he's got an uphill task ahead of him, but he has our fullest cooperation, and this change is much needed.
Moving on, there's some good news for millions of investors who depend on small savings instruments such as post office savings and public provident fund scheme. The government on Friday raised interest rate on the public provident fund to 8.6% from 8% earlier. The maximum increase is in the 1-year fixed deposit from 6.25% to 7.7%. The interest rate on other time maturities has been hiked as well. Similarly, the government also hiked the interest rate on post office savings accounts to 4% from 3.5% now. In news from the state also having an international significance, Lankan President Mahinda Rajapaksa has told NDTV that if the Reconciliation Commission report endorses any human rights violation in the war against the Tamil Tigers, the government will take action without shielding anyone. He also says the Lankan Navy has been stopped from taking Indian fishermen into custody anymore.
you've seen since the war ended in 2009, there have been many allegations about human rights violations. You've come across them. You've seen the Channel 4 documentary.
Yeah.
Your government
Have you seen the
response to it? Yes, we have. But so the Lessons Learned and Reconciliation Commission is meant to give you its report anytime.
On the 19th.
Will you make it public?
Yes, because as soon as I get it, I will have to study it. Because it's not a public document. Then to make it a public document, I want to go and table it in Parliament. Then only it becomes a public document.
Are you afraid it might endorse some of those charges of violations?
No, I don't mind it. I mean, just if they endorse it, then we will have to take action. I am not going to shield anybody. I don't want to shield anybody.
So it's still a long process, essentially, towards... It's a continuing process, it's on, but it's not over yet.
Everybody is talking about the last 10 days.
Right.
But for last 30 years, no one talks.
Right. So
because for 30 years, what happened? How many people died? How many Tamil political leaders have died?
Right.
Killed by the LTT.
Right.
And even your Prime Minister was killed.
That's right.
So, I mean, these things cannot be just,
forgotten in a day.
Yeah.
Moving on, the 2G trial has started in the special CBI court. This is 7 months after the first charge sheet has been filed. It has been labelled as the biggest scam of the country, and several big names like former telecom minister A. Raja as well as DMK's Kanimuri, along with telecom corporates and bureaucrats, were thrown into Tihar jail over the last year. The big question is, will the CBI be able to prove its case against each one of them? None of the 17 accused have been able to get bail so far. Today, a plea by former telecom minister A. Raja that he would not cross-examine prosecution witnesses unless the CBI probe is over in 2G Spectrum case was dismissed by a Delhi court which began formal trial in the matter. Raja made the plea minutes before Special Judge O.P. Saini commenced formal trial, beginning it with the recording of first prosecution witness, Reliance Capital Limited Vice President Anand Subramaniam's statement. The court, however, dismissed Raja's plea and began recording the statement of the first prosecution witness. The authorities have consistently claimed that the atomic reactors at Kudankulam are the safest in the world. But those claims may be just hollow. Now, according to a new assessment by the regulatory authorities, they are not fully impressed by this rhetoric and have sought additional safety measures in their post-Fukushima appraisal. NDTV science editor Pallava Bhagla brings you this exclusive report.
We do accept that there were certain minor gaps in our outreach in communicating to the public when we are trying to do the commissioning of this work. Actually, the gap what we found was that when they were mentioning about the noise coming out from the safety relief while testing onto that, we really feel sorry that we could not communicate to them when we are trying to do this test. And we will definitely take this as a learning point for us, and we'll communicate in future these type of events which is there, which will try to create a little bit of inconvenience whatsoever. If it is there, we'll communicate to them what we are trying to do that basically. And definitely it's a really learning point for us, a small learning point, and we'll be correcting it actually.
Are you taking some technological measures of muffling the sound?
Definitely. Now, since we realize that basically, because of the wind velocity and all that, the noise will be taking it out. So wherever the walls, the steam is going to let out to the atmosphere there. It may not be always regularly, but if it is there, we're going to provide something called a silencer or a muffler, so that there will be no noise will be heard and will not be inconvenience my neighbors who are living along with us, my people actually there.
See, while the Indian regulator, the Atomic Energy Regulatory Authority, says the design of the Kudankulam plant is robust, but they've asked for additional measures of creating more water and DG sets, etc. What is your view? Will you comply with it, or will you let it run without that?
No. See, basically our culture in the nuclear park operation in the Kudankulam has always been to accept what regulator says there basically, and try to comply with this. There we consider them as an experts. Then we do follow their recommendations, and whatever recommendations like an additional water source, and then the additional diesel generator, that is a mobile diesel generator, we will try to provide with them, and we already made a roadmap for providing them for this particular units actually.
So whatever the regulator requires, you will comply with it to make the plant safer. Is that what you're trying to do?
No. The plant, see, as far as we are concerned, the plant is already safe, and the regulator also says the plant has got the most safety features. But probably they have analyzed a little bit onto that and trying to give you a enhanced defense in depth and enhanced safety features for these two additional requirements for this for a station blackout, which is not possible for this in the reactor. But still, considering a station blackout, these are the things which are required that when that basically there.
Back to news from the city. There is no immediate relief from the Supreme Court for the shop owners at T Nagar market at Chennai. However, there will not be any further sealing of shops at the busy Ranganathan Street in Chennai. Supreme Court orders status quo on T Nagar sealing after hearing the petition by Ranganathan Street Merchants Association against the sealing and closure of shops in T Nagar. To give you a brief background, the petition was filed against the interim order of Madras High Court declining relief to the shop owners after the Chennai Corporation sealed 21 buildings. The CMDA had sealed 6 buildings on the 31st of October. As a result, not only the owners but also thousands of employees were rendered jobless. The Chennai Commissioner of Police met the media today and he announced the launch of a specialized homicide squad. The specialized homicide squad will shortly be set up at Chennai Police Commissioner's office in Egmore. The state government has given a go-ahead to the proposal set by the Chennai Police Commissioner. Talking to Media City's top cop, J.K. Tripathi told the specialized unit is set to investigate homicide and it will be a part of Central Crime Branch of Chennai City Police.
So we had special teams formed to detect the pending crimes, particularly the snatchings, robberies, housebreakings, cheatings, attempts and diversions. So we had about 170 criminals who were arrested and 236 cases have been detected. Properties recovered you already have seen, and few properties are outside. So it's roughly was the 3 crores which we were commissioned for the court, and we have handed over to the victims. The breakups are already available with you. The main accused who were involved in series of offences already also is given in the press note. We have detained a few of them and we are in the process of detaining few more active criminals. And so far we have detained this year about 605 people of the Gunda Act. Anything that you want to know more, you are free to ask questions.
The police commissioner also assured the public that the FIR will be registered for the complaints where the cognizable offences were made out of.
We had special teams formed to detect the pending crimes, particularly the snatchings, robberies, housebreakings, cheatings, attempts and diversions. So we had about 170 criminals who were arrested and 236 cases have been detected. Properties recovered you already have seen, and few properties are outside. So it's roughly was the 3 crores which we were commissioned for the court, and we have handed over to the victims.
Sir, in T Nagar, a teacher fell into the stormwater drain and died. Any update on the case or any arrest or that?
The investigation continues, and on the receipt of the PM certificate and the forensic report on the cause of death, we will proceed further. Cognizable offence is made out, FIR has to be registered. Where cognizable offence is not made out, CSR has to be given.
Going back to our top story, the TNCC has got a new chief and we have got his first reaction on camera. Here is what a hopeful Mr. Jnana Desikan had to say today.
No, there is no plan as such. I am going to ask support from all leaders of this party who have worked for this party tirelessly for so many years. And my first duty is to see that everybody is united and the party is regaining its original position in Tamil Nadu. There is no plan needed for this. Only thing is approach. I feel that approach is with me and everybody is good with me, all leaders. Therefore, I have a confidence that everybody will help me, everybody bless me, and everybody will support me. And definitely, I am hopeful that the assignment given to me by Madam Gandhi and Rahulji will be fulfilled. And definitely, I have to over this aspect that Congress regain its original glory to Madam Gandhi, which I will do.
In Kerala, a fast-track court in Thrissur sentenced to death Govindachamy. He was convicted in rape and murder of a 23-year-old girl, Soumya. According to the prosecution, Govindachamy, hailing from Virudachalam in Tamil Nadu, had assaulted Soumya in a deserted ladies' compartment on the 1st of February this year. He pushed her out of a running train immediately after it left the Vallatol Nagar station. He then carried her to a spot along the rail tracks and raped her. A week later, she died at Thrissur Government Medical Hospital. Soumya was an employee of a private firm in a shopping mall in Kochi. It was a dream come true for the Dalits at village Uttapuram in Madurai to actually enter a forbidden temple after 2 whole decades. For generations, the upper caste Pillai community had ostracized them by actually building a wall of shame to prevent the Dalits from entering. Only a few years ago, that wall was demolished. All thanks to the efforts made by the police to strike peace among the two and create a new beginning. The Dalits are now given the freedom to offer prayers in the temple premises. Of course, mutual respect was established after a long period of time, but at least this is a positive development in bringing about secularity. Religious heads have welcomed this development and they want steps taken to ensure Dalits are able to enter the temple of their choice across the country.
We welcome wholeheartedly the entrance of Dalits into the Uttapuram temple.
11-11-11. Doom or boom? More after the break.